All right, we are back on day 9 of ACT Prep Unit 1, Pre-Algebra 1 topics. Today we're going to talk about multiplication and division of fractions and mixed numbers. Okay, multiplication and division of fractions and mixed numbers. Follow these steps to multiply or divide fractions and mixed numbers. Estimate first, then compute. Remember to write your answer in simplest form and check your answer against the estimate to make sure your answer is reasonable. Here we go. All right, you can use your calculator to do this. If it's again, I'm using a TA 84. So you type, and I just like to put my fractions in parentheses. I find that I make less mistakes that way. So I did 2 divided by 3 times 3 divided by 8, which is 0.25. But again, your answers are probably going to be in fraction form. So again, your key sequences is math, enter, enter on the TA84, and that will switch it to a fraction. So the answer of this would be 1/4. When you're doing mixed numbers, the way you type them is, this is like 1 plus 1/5. So to type this in, I typed 1 plus 1 divided by 5 times 2 plus 7 divided by 8. You get 3.45. As a fraction, that's 69 over 20, but again, the top is bigger than the bottom, so they might give you a mixed number. Well, all you do is look at this. This tells me how many whole times. And then I typed 0.45 and did math enter, and it turned it into a fraction. So it's 3 whole times and 9/20 left over. And just to show you, I typed in 3 plus 9/20 is 3.45, which is the same thing I got when I multiplied them to begin with. Okay. Division. If you're doing this by hand, the rule for division is you keep the first one, you change to times, and you flip the second one. So that would turn into 3 over 1, which would give me 9 over 4, which 4 goes into 9, 2 whole times, take away 8, leaves 1 left over. So my answer would be 2 wholes, and 1/4 left over. Calculator, you type it, 3 divided by 4 divided by 1 divided by 3, you get 2.25, which is 9/4. Okay, and then again, so you know 2 whole times, there's my whole number. Turn the 0.25 into a fraction, that's 1/4, so it's 2 and 1/4. Okay, mixed numbers, type them the same way I taught you a minute ago. Parentheses, 6 plus 1 divided by 2 divided by 1 plus 3 divided by 4. You get this answer. As a fraction, is 26 over 7. Well, what I tried to do earlier didn't really work. I know it's 3 whole times. And when I type in just this decimal and try and math enter it, it gives me the decimal back. And that's because there didn't go out enough decimal places for the calculator to turn it back into a fraction. So what you can do is, what this says is 7 goes into 26 3 whole times. 7 times 3 is 21. 26 take away 21 leaves 5 left over. And that's what I just did here. That tells you how much is left over. So you got 3 whole times and 5 over 7 left over. So my answer would be 3 and 5/7. And you see, if I typed it in, I get the same answer as when I typed the original problem. Okay? So you try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got D. So it says, which of the following statements is false about A 1/2 and B 1/2? Well, A says the product of A and B is less than A. Well, let's see. Product means multiply. So there's A times B, which is 0.25. Is that less than A? A was 1/2. 0.25 is less, so that's true. B says the sum of A and B is greater than the product of A and B. Well, let's see. The sum of A and B is 1. The product of A and B is 0.25. So the sum is greater. That's true. C says A divided by B is equal to the sum of A and B. Well, A divided by B is 1, and the sum of A and B is 1. So that is also true. D says A minus B is less than 0. No, a minus b is equal to 0. It's not less than. So there's your false statement. But if you wanted to check E, the product of a and b is 0.25, which is less than a divided by b. A divided by b is 1. This is less than, so that is true. Okay? Alright, so just more of the same. It's just calculator work. Be very careful. 2/3 times 1/5 is 0.13 repeating, which math enter is 2/15. Or, again, when they're this simple, guys, when you multiply, the rule is top times top, so 2 times 1 is 2. Bottom times bottom, 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, again, same thing here. 7 times 4 is 28. 8 times 9 is 72, but then you have to reduce, whereas if you do it on the calculator to begin with, okay, you type it in and you hit math enter, and it doesn't give you, it gives you the simplest form of that. I can divide both of these by 4, which reduces it down to 7/18. Okay, on 3, 15 times 4 divided by 5 is 12. To type 4, 3 plus 3/4 times 5/8 is that decimal. So I know it's 2 whole times. And as a fraction, it's this. So if I just type the 0.34375, math enter it, it tells me the fraction that's left over, which is 11/32. Okay, and again, you don't need to type this. I'm just doing it to show you, to prove to you that this answer is the same as this answer. Alright, so we've got 5 plus 1/8 times 24/25. You can't read the rest because the screen is too short, but that says times 10 plus 1 divided by 2 in parentheses. And I get this. Answer as a fraction. I get 25/83/50. This tells me that whatever my answer is, it's 51 whole times. And then to get what's left over, I type 0.66, math enter, and it gives me the fraction 33/50. So it's 51 and 33/50. Okay, number 6. 4 and 2/7 times 5 and 1/6 is 22.14, blah, 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 blah. Math enter it, you get 155/7. Alright, so this says that 7 goes into 155 22 whole times. So 7 to 15, that goes 2, take away 14, leaves 1, bring down the 5, 7 into 15 goes 2 times, take away 14, leaves 1 left over, which is what that shows. So my answer is 22 wholes and 1/7. Okay, 7, 3 and 1/8. Sorry, I just drew everything. 3 and 1/8 times 4 and 1/5 is 13.125. So that's 13 wholes. Alright, if you take 8 into 105, it tells me it goes 13 whole times. 8 into 10 goes once. Take away 8, leaves 2. Bring down the 5. There's my 3. 8 goes into 25 3 times. Take away 24, leaves 1. Which is what this shows. So my answer is 13 whole and 1/8 left over. So it's 13 and 1/8. Okay, number 8. 2 and 1/4 times 6 and 1/2 times 12/39 is 4.5. As a fraction is 9/2. This tells me that 2 goes into 9 4 whole times. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 take away 8 is 1, so it's 4 and 1/2. Alright, division. Again, if we were doing this by hand, you'd have to keep change flip. You'd always turn it to multiplication and flip the second fraction. But with a calculator, you just type it 2/3 divided by 3/5. You get 1.1 repeating. Alright, that's 10/9 as a fraction. 9 goes into 10 1 whole time. There's the 1. Take away 9 leaves 1. So it's 1 and 1/9. Okay, number 10. 3/4 divided by 3/8 is 2. Number 11. 5/6 divided by 10 is 0.083 repeating. Math enter it, you get 1/12, which is not improper, so we're done. This equals 2, this equals 1/12. This says 8 divided by 1/8. So to type that, you do 8 divided by 1 divided by 8, and you get 64. Okay, on 13, you've got 2/3 divided by 3/8, 1.7 repeating. Math enter is 16/9. This tells me that 9 goes into 16 one whole time. Take away 9 leaves 7. So my answer is 1 whole and 7 ninths. So it'll be 1 and 7 ninths. Okay, 14, 5 and 1/3 divided by 2 and 2/3 is 2. 15, 7 and 3/5 divided by 6 and 1/2 is 1 point blah blah blah. Math enter it, you get 76/65. This tells me that 65 goes into 76 one whole time. Take away 65 and you get 11 left over. So my answer would be 1 and 11/65. Okay, 16. 5 and 1/3 divided by 4 and 1/6 is 1.28. I've got, this tells me that 25 goes into 32 one whole time. Take away 25, leaves 7. So my answer is 1 and 7/25. Okay, and if you look at it, that's the same answer as the problem. Alright, on these, you got 2/3 times 1/2 divided by 3, which is 0.1 repeating. Math enter that, and you get 1 ninth. Okay, 18, 4/5 divided by 3/10 times 1/2. You have 1.3 repeating. Math enter that, and you get 4/3. That 3 goes into 4 one whole time. Take away 3 is 1, so it's 1 whole and 1/3. So it's 1 1/3. Okay, 19, 11/15 times 10 divided by 2 times 1/3 is 1.2 repeating. That means 9 goes into 11 one whole time. Take away 9 leaves 2 left over. So it's 1 and 2 ninths. Okay, 20, you got 4/7 times 28/3 divided by 4, 1.3 repeating. 3 goes into 4 one whole time. Take away 3 leaves 1, so that's 1 whole and 1/3 left over. Alright, you try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 1/3. It says Brett runs 2/3 of a mile. Tony runs half as far as Brett. How many miles does Tony run? Well, if Brett runs 2/3 of a mile and Tony runs half of that, you're dividing 2/3 by 2. So if I do 2/3 divided by 2, I get 0.3 repeating. Math enter it, and you get 1/3. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got 75 pounds. It says Jim bench presses 225 pounds and does arm curls with a weight 1/3 the amount he bench presses. What weight does he arm curl? He arm curls 1/3 of how much he bench presses, which is 225. That word right there means multiply. So I'm taking 1/3 times 225 and I get 75 pounds. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 8 and 11/15. I type it in, 2/5 plus 25 divided by 9 divided by 1 divided by 3. I get 8.73 repeating. As a fraction is 131/15, which isn't here because this is improper. So this tells me it goes 8 whole times. And I typed the 0.73 repeating, math entered it, and got 11/15. Or you can say 15 goes into 131 8 times. 8 times 15 is 120, and that leaves 11 left over. So it would be 8 and 11/15. Okay, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 20. So it says a college math professor has to grade 160 exams. He gives half of the exams to assistant to grade. Then the assistant gives a quarter of her exams to a student worker to grade. How many exams does the student worker get to grade? Well, we started off with 160. Half of those he gave to his assistant. So his assistant has 80 to grade. The assistant took a quarter of those 80. There's your of. And gave them to the student worker. A quarter of 80 is 20. So that's how many the student worker gets to grade. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 11 over 91. When I type it in, 5/7 divided by 15/3 times 11/13, you get this decimal. Math enter it, and you get 11 over 91. And that is it for day 9. And I will see you for day 10.